Imagine you could step inside the minds of Canada's healthcare leaders, glimpse their greatest fears, strongest drivers, and what makes them tick. Welcome to Healthcare Changemakers, a podcast where we talk to leaders about the joys and challenges of driving change and working with partners to create the safest healthcare system.
Hey listeners, it's Philip from Yee Hong here. I hope your day is going great. Of course, as always, thank you for taking time to listen to our podcast, Healthcare Changemakers. It means a lot to us. And I'm not sure if you know, but we also have another show called Share, Scale, Repeat. On that show, we lean into conversations and stories about innovations in the healthcare system that were spurred upon by seed funding through the Yee Hong safety grants. Check it out when you get a chance. Okay, on today's show, we're delighted to have Glen Chow with us. He's CEO at Yee Hong. It's one of the largest not-for-profit senior care organizations in the country. Glen and I chat about many topics such as leadership skills and his personal experiences, how he leans into curiosity, advice from mentors, the value of continuous improvement, and he shares some great highlights from the amazing impact Yee Hong is having in the community too. And if you're an F1 fan, your ears will definitely perk up when we talk about the parallels between leadership, healthcare, teamwork, and the drive to innovate. So, take a listen. Welcome, Glen. How are you today?
Thank you, Philip. Really nice to see you again. I'm doing great.
Excellent. Well, listeners, you're in for a real treat today. We have Glen Chow with us. So, Glen, why don't you tell listeners where you work and what you do there?
Thanks, Philip. And first of all, I want to just say thank you for the conversation. It's really honored to be your guest at this podcast. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I'm Glen Chow. I'm the CEO of Yee Hong Center for Geriatric Care. And we are one of Canada's leading not-for-profit seniors care organizations. And what we do is we support seniors through our long-term care, our community programs, our seniors housing, and hospice care. And what do I do? So I bring together people, care, operations, finances, partnerships, and help set the direction for our future growth. And I would say on any given day, I wear a ton of hats. I can be part strategist, I can be part operator, part problem solver, and occasionally part firefighter and psychiatrist. So for the most part, my job is just making sure we provide really great care today and preparing our organization to provide what seniors and families need for the future.
Fantastic. And so you've been a CEO at Yee Hong now for, a couple of years, close to a couple of years. And so how would you describe your leadership style and I guess how it's evolved from the first day you joined?
Yeah, thanks. So, I've never been a, what they call command and control or very autocratic type of leader. And I find that style really doesn't suit me, and I don't think it brings out the best in people. So I've always believed in leading in a really open, collaborative, and people-focused way. And, I'm also very comfortable on occasion saying that I don't have all the answers. I can't do this alone. And I find that the best decisions really come from bringing the right people together, hearing different perspectives, and then taking that shared ownership of the direction we all agree on. And, when I first joined Yee Hong, I didn't have a full leadership team in place. So I had to take a lot of things on myself. And that was very necessary at the time, but also a real challenge in that, this is a big organization and it's very complex. But happy to say now that I have a full team in place, my role has evolved. I can spend a lot less time personally doing things and carrying every single issue, and much more time enabling others to lead. And I really like to say that I now have a lot more smarter people than me who can support the vision and, really set and be active participants in this whole transformation. So, my real goal and role is to provide the clarity, to remove the barriers, do the support, and provide everything I can to challenge the thinking and giving people the confidence and autonomy to make really good decisions themselves. But at the same time, empowerment also has to come with accountability. So people need to own both the action and the outcome.
Oh, absolutely. I love that you started off by talking about how you know what style didn't suit you. And a lot of leaders are probably listening and watching and saying to themselves, like, how do I know if they don't know what style's for them? How did you kind of come to learn your style? Was it a mentor that told you? Was it an experience you had at a previous position? Was it something you read? Was it something you just learned from your family? Where do you feel it came from for you?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate through my career, and although I probably didn't appreciate it at the time, I was working in organizations. Most of the organizations I'd been in had been going through a lot of major change. So I've experienced lots of organizations that have gone through growth, transformation, restructuring, downsizing, and periods where organizations really had to rethink how they operated. And a lot of those experiences really taught me not to be afraid of change, but to understand it and help shape it and look for the opportunity within it. And I also learned that people, including me, want to understand the big picture. Where are we going? Why are we going there? How will we get there? And what path we're taking? So, in my opinion and my experience, people want to really know where they fit and how their own work contributes and whether they are making a real difference. And, I think people perform much better when they understand why they're being asked to do something and how it connects to the broader decision. And, that's really, really true here at Yee Hong, because this is fundamentally a people business and we're serving people. And however you define performance, whether it's like financial results or clinical outcomes, quality of life, resident experience, operational effectiveness, it all starts with people. And those outcomes from people, they come from people being motivated, supported, and equipped to do the right things on a consistent basis. And that to me is why culture, leadership, communication, and accountability aren't separate from performance. It's really what drives it. And the other thing I learned is that good strategy only matters if people can execute it.
Absolutely.
And strategy really can't just sit in some document and belong only to senior people. It has to be pervasive, and people need to understand where we're going, how their work contributes, and why it matters. And I find that when people have that context, along with the support, you need the support and accountability, they can act and the results follow.
Absolutely. I love that you lead into your own personal curiosity. I like that everything's grounded in your why. And the fact that you mentioned the strategy belongs to everyone. That's so true. And it's when we see those organizations out there, both in healthcare and outside of it, that have strong culture, strong performance, no matter you rhymed off a whole bunch of ways performance that we see it. It's if the people don't feel and live the strategy and be part of it, it won't happen. So I'm so happy. I took like 2 pages of notes already. So thank you for that.
No, and it's not something that can happen, in day one. It's a journey, and you have to bring along people through that journey in a really good way.
Absolutely. And so, I'm sure having 30 years of leadership experience, across multiple sectors, created a good head on your shoulders. So when you were joining as CEO at Yee Hong. So what key pieces of insight, I guess, or lessons did you take from past experiences and then bring them specifically into this role at Yee Hong?
So, probably in my late 20s, I was working in the Treasury Department of a publicly traded multinational company. And, one of my early mentors there had a major influence on how I think about work and leadership. And he really taught me that constantly looking for ways to improve or enhance something should really become part of your normal mindset. And, you don't have to wait for a formal strategy, a major initiative, or someone senior to tell you something needs to change. And you should really get into this habit of asking yourself, how can I make this better? Is this really the best way to do this? And, that could mean improving a process, solving, some recurring problem, making something easier for people or finding a better way to achieve a better result. And what I really learned is that improvement isn't a project, it's just a way of thinking. And that lesson stayed throughout my entire career. stay curious, ask what could be better, and just go do it.
No, absolutely. And have you had, I know you mentioned one just now, that mentor, any others who've truly, like shaped or helped reframe your thinking, and what other advice did they give you or that stuck with you till today?
Yeah, that really, again, I think about that company I'd worked with in the 20s, and it was just this pervasive curiosity of looking at things that has carried me throughout my career, and leaving no stone unturned. Even though at the time you feel it's like, oh my God, this is so tedious, and why are we doing this? But then you realize, my God, we actually found a better way to do things, and this is the way to go. And that was a great lesson to be learned, and people notice. That's the thing. People notice that active and proactive effort on your part, and that really sets the tone for the entire team and the organization when you exhibit it yourself and you do things yourself and you look at things and you become an agent of change, and you become accountable and responsible for that change.
Mm. You touched about Yee Hong at the start. So tell listeners about Yee Hong and how you provide culturally appropriate long-term care and why this is so important in the community.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is actually move towards more care that is much more relationship driven and responsive, and at the same time still deeply rooted in cultural understanding. And this really starts with seeing the person first, who they are, what matters to them, what gives them comfort, and how they want to live. And then from there, we respond to their cultural identity and shape their care around it, rather than expecting the person to adapt to the organization. So that also means focusing on, creating an environment that feels more like home and less institutional. Mm-hmm. And, things like being able to communicate in your own language, being surrounded by people who understand your customs, traditions, and life experiences. And, food is also a big part of it. It should be, first of all, really, really good and enjoyable, but it should also reflect the foods that people really know and love. And I myself am a foodie, so I regularly eat the food from our homes, and it has to meet my standards, our standards, and or it shouldn't be served. And, we also have activities, therapies, celebrations, music that reflect our residents' culture, and that's so they really feel a genuine sense of belonging. And culturally appropriate care is not just about food or language or celebrations. It also carries into how we care for people every single day. And it's about the empathy, the kindness, and respect, as well as understanding how culture can shape someone's routines and preferences and relationships and expectations of care. And for us, like, culturally appropriate care isn't an added feature. It's a really core focus and central to how we build our trust and preserve that dignity and improve the quality of life and for our residents and seniors and families. And, this just isn't limited to our long-term care homes. It's reflected right across our community programs and services and our entire continuum of care.
Absolutely. That's something that, we at HEROC, we value community greatly, and our friends from Advantage and OLTCA have always kind of helped us and pointed to your organization over the years and how your organization has created such a great community. And because of that community, it's clear that there's great outcomes, that there's engagement, that people want to be there. So I think that's a true testament to you and your team.
Thank you.
So, we know you're in the process of expanding and advancing various community programs and services. So tell us a bit more about that and, what are the goals around this expansion?
Yeah, really exciting period of the organization. And, we've already expanded our community offerings this year. And we're introducing a lot more programming and increasing the range of resources available to our seniors and families. And one of the things we're doing is we're opening a new adult day program in our new care home. And it's also going to serve as a community hub which will allow us to reach a lot more seniors in a much more welcoming and culturally responsive environment. We've also added new buses because, for us, accessibility matters. Even the best program has, no value if someone has no way to get there. Mm-hmm. So we see this as a really incredible opportunity to connect with a lot more people and where they need the assistance the most. And for our expansion, the reality is building new homes, really creates a lot of additional real estate that takes a lot of time and capital. So it's not the easiest way to go. So by expanding beyond physical locations and our homes, we can respond a lot more quickly and help seniors remain where they want to be in their own homes and neighborhoods. And, more importantly, it allows us to extend Yee Hong's care to people outside of our homes and who may not yet require long-term care, but still benefit from that meaningful assistance. And our goal is to help seniors remain independent for a lot longer, reduce the isolation, ease the pressure on caregivers, and make it simpler to access the right resources at the right time. And, as we grow, we want these programs to really remain very personal, accessible, and responsive to the community they serve. And this is not just about adding programs. It's about responding to the immediate needs of our seniors, removing the barriers, and bringing that care closer to people in a more timely way.
I love it. And all of this probably can't be done without partners, whoever they may be, and of course, your team. So there are many players in the healthcare system. So I guess, what kind of advice do you have for other system leaders on the importance and value of partnerships across the continuum of care? So, for example, like how long-term care innovation, leadership, and collaboration truly enhance the whole healthcare system.
Yeah, I always say that no one organization can meet all the needs of seniors and families on its own. And, healthcare is really complex. So I think stronger connections between hospitals and primary care, community services, housing, and long-term care is essential. And the goal to me is to make the experience easier and more connected rather than leaving the seniors and families to navigate the systems all by themselves. And, long-term care brings a lot of valuable clinical expertise and a deep understanding of the frailty and dementia and the changing needs of older adults. So, at Yee Hong, we really want to help the sector by introducing new ideas, using the technology more effectively, and advancing, we're advancing an enhanced model of care that's focused on resident experience and quality of life. And we also want to test new approaches. We want to understand what works and share those lessons more broadly. And we think many of these ideas and innovation and the model of care can benefit seniors wherever they live. And whether that's in, long-term care or seniors housing, the community, or their own home. So by combining our strengths, learning from one another, and sharing what works, I think we can reach a lot more seniors and improve quality of life wherever they reside.
Absolutely. I know when we talk to our other subscribers and tell them about the innovations in long-term care, people are like, or ideas that come out from long-term care, in most cases, they're often about building partnerships and having that foundation for more collaboration. And I think that's certainly very key, especially with demographics shifting across the country and, complexities of care, but also community. And I think, like I said before, you and the team have really created a great sense of community to be an anchor, kind of an anchor in the community to support not just long-term care, but like when you talked about like the busing and you talked about the day programs, that involves a lot of other people. So.
Yes. We really have our care that's rooted, again, in culturally appropriate care, but also it's community-based care. So again, reaching as many seniors as possible wherever they are is really the goal here.
Fantastic.
Calling all art lovers and appreciators, we can all agree that art is central to understanding human experience and can provide valuable insights into innovation, leadership, and strategy. HEROC's new strategic plan, The Art of Safety, pulls from both the art and healthcare worlds. It leans into the idea that each person in the Canadian healthcare system has unique skills and talents that are valued. Most importantly, each is a gifted professional, or better yet, a unique artist who is there for their community. Learn more about the art of safety by heading over to heroic.com or by clicking the link under mentioned in this episode. Enjoy the episode.
Okay, Glen, we are going to go into the lightning round. We're going to ask you a few questions. You can answer them short as long as you want. And so the first question is, what was your first job ever?
Wow, it takes me back. So when I was 13, I actually found a way to ride my bike around my neighborhood and get paid for it. And I did this by offering to deliver pharmacy prescriptions to seniors.
Wow.
In their homes. Yeah. It kind of dates me because no 13-year-old today could do that without the pharmacist going to jail. So it was a pretty good gig.
No, that's very smart. Okay, if you could host your own podcast on any topic at all, so it doesn't have to be healthcare, what would your podcast be about and who would be your dream guest?
So if you don't know, I'm a big Formula One fan.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, my podcast would definitely be about racing, leadership, and what it takes to build a winning team. And my dream guest would probably be team principal Toto Wolff from Mercedes, or CEO Zach Brown from McLaren. And, what fascinates me is that they started with racing ambitions on their own. They were race car drivers, but they went on to lead some of the most sophisticated and competitive organizations in the world. And I'd really love to get in their head about how they make that transition from, being behind the wheel to managing people, strategy, technology, and the business behind an entire team.
No, I love that you brought that up. F1, near and dear to many. We're going to tag them, so let's hopefully we can bring them on your podcast. But
that'd be great.
We've always seen that kind of example of how in healthcare, a lot of people look at F1 to like when a car comes in, and a pit stop, and how there needs to be so much teamwork. For example, people equate that in a ER room or in healthcare, or the case may be. So I'm happy you brought that up. And I guess I'll ask you, you brought the word leadership. Where do you see some really interesting injects of leadership, I guess, in F1? And you don't have to mirror to healthcare, but just in general, where do you see something where you're like, that's something, like anyone can try as a leader or in a team?
Yeah, I still go back to F1. Again, what I really admire is that everyone is looking for the next little improvement all the time. And they're looking for small innovations or big innovations, but they really strive to really improve small increments. And in Formula One, they actually call these upgrades. And all these little things, they might make a car a little bit faster, just a fraction of a second, hundreds of seconds, but they add all these things together, all these little components and all these little innovations and all these upgrades. And that makes the difference between like a winning team and a losing team. And then, it's never just about the driver. So, the solo driver, he gets all the accolades and the limelight, but you've got engineers, you got data analysts, you've got mechanics, you got logistics, you got hundreds and thousands of people all contributing. And everyone has to be amazing at what they do, but they also have to work together and they're working towards the same goal. I think that's a great lesson for any organization. And, to me, high performance usually doesn't come from one giant idea. Yeah. It really comes from people and a lot of people taking ownership, doing their part really well, and always asking, how can we just make this a little bit better?
Oh, that's a great example. I'm so happy we dug deeper there. I think we should even trademark that for a mini leadership TED Talk there. That was awesome.
That'd be great.
Glenn, if you could go back in time, what period in time would you want to go back to and why? It could be any time in history or recent.
I'm a big music lover, so I would definitely go back to the 80s.
80s is good.
Music is a huge part of my life, and I love the whole British invasion and the old school rock and roll. And I would just love to see bands like U2 and The Police, Depeche Mode, AC/DC. Those are the really cool bands in my opinion, and I'd love to see them again.
No, it's very cool. Do you play an instrument?
I play a little bit of guitar. I hack a little bit on guitar. YouTube taught. So I wouldn't call it playing, but more hacking.
Okay, that's good. Still good. Well, Glenn, I guess before I let you go, I will ask you, so throughout your career, you've had, like you mentioned, the mentors you've had, but is there something, and it could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be a song, it could be a band, it could be your family, that's really propelled you to think differently and not think like leader, but think in a way that has allowed you to grow as a human being? Has there been a moment or somebody or something like that that's really, that you feel that, you know what, like this really helped shape who I am today?
I have to say my father has been a big part of my development and the way I think and the way, my character, just about looking at things and appreciating the small things in life and, trying to, again, I think I've always been a kind of person that is always looking to improve things. And again, not for the corporate world and not for work, but just to improve your life. So just doing little things around the house and doing little things around your life that, helps improve the quality of life and your experience in life.
It's fantastic. Well, Glenn, thank you for chatting with us. I really appreciate it. We at Heroc look to you and your team as amazing stewards in the community, and we truly value that, and we appreciate all the work you do. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip. It's really been an honor.
Thank you for listening. You can hear more episodes of Healthcare Changemakers on our website, heroc.com, and on your favorite podcasting apps. If you like what you hear, please rate us or post a review. Healthcare Changemakers is recorded by Heroc's communications and marketing team and produced by Podfly Productions. Follow us on Twitter at Heroc Group or email us at communications@heroc.com. We'd love to hear from you.